At first, she tells herself it's over. She convinces herself that what you had was just a phase, just a chapter, just something that belonged to the past. So she fills the silence with new faces, new conversations, new attention. On the surface, it looks like she's moving forward. She laughs, she posts, she stays busy. But deep down, something feels different. Something feels empty because no matter how many people she meets, none of them make her feel the same way you did. And this is where the real shift begins. She starts comparing even when she doesn't want to. The way they talk doesn't hit the same. The way they listen feels shallow. The emotional connection feels forced instead of natural. And slowly, without realizing it, she measures every new man against the standard you set. Not because you were perfect, but because you were real. You were present. You understood her patterns, her moods, her silences. You knew how to lead, how to ground her emotionally, how to make her feel seen and safe at the same time. That's when the memory stops being comfortable and starts becoming painful. At first, she remembers you with nostalgia, then it turns into longing, then it turns into regret, because now she understands something she didn't see before. What she lost wasn't easily replaceable. It wasn't just your attention. It was the emotional experience of being with a man who actually knew himself and brought stability into her world. The hardest part for her isn't missing you. The hardest part is realizing that what she's chasing in others is actually you, the feeling you created, the way she felt around you, the version of herself that existed when she was with you. And that's the part no one talks about. She doesn't just miss you as a person, she misses who she was when she was with you. Calm, desired, connected, grounded. So she keeps searching, hoping someone else will recreate that feeling. But the more she searches, the clearer it becomes. You weren't just another option, you were a reference point, a standard, a baseline that quietly ruined the average for everyone who came after you. And that's when regret really sets in because now she sees the truth. She didn't lose a relationship, she lost a rare emotional experience. And once a woman realizes that the best connection she's had is behind her, not ahead of her, the memory becomes heavier than the present. That's when she stops pretending you're just a memory and starts feeling the weight of what she walked away from. When you were still in her life, she didn't fully feel the impact of her choices. Your presence softened everything. Your attention, your patience, your emotional consistency created a kind of safety net around her. Even when things were unstable, even when she pulled away or acted unsure, there was always you. There was always someone there to listen, to reassure, to make things feel less serious than they actually were. And because of that, she never had to truly sit with the consequences of her decisions. But once you're gone, that safety disappears. There's no one left to absorb the emotional weight, no one left to smooth out the doubts or fill in the silence. And that's when reality starts to feel different. Silence is no longer peaceful, it becomes loud. The distractions fade, the noise settles, and for the first time, she's alone with her own thoughts, her own actions, her own patterns. This is where reflection begins. Not the kind of reflection that happens when someone casually looks back, but the kind that forces you to replay moments in your head, conversations, arguments, the times you tried to communicate and she didn't listen, the times you stayed calm while she tested boundaries, the times you gave more than you received. Without you there to balance the dynamic, those memories hit harder because now there's no emotional escape from them. And slowly, something shifts inside her. What once felt justified now feels questionable. What once felt like independence now feels like self sabotage. She starts seeing her own role in what happened, not just yours. She realizes that pushing you away wasn't strength, it was fear. That distancing herself wasn't clarity, it was confusion. And the more she becomes honest with herself, the more uncomfortable it gets. Because accountability is heavy when there's no one else to blame. There's no argument to win anymore, no messages to ignore, no control over the outcome. There's just the quiet truth that some of the distance was created by her, not by fate, not by timing, not by circumstances. And that realization creates regret, not because she misses the drama, but because she sees the cost of her own decisions. The irony is that while she thought leaving would give her freedom, what it actually gave her was awareness, awareness of what she had, awareness of what she lost, awareness of how rare it is to find someone who is emotionally solid and genuinely invested. Once that awareness sets in, the story she told herself about moving on starts to collapse. Because now she understands something she couldn't see while you were still there. You weren't holding her back, you were holding the relationship together. And once she feels that truth, the regret doesn't come from missing you. It comes from realizing she played a part in losing someone who was actually good for her. At first, she expects you to react the same way you always did, to reach out, to explain yourself, to chase clarity, closure, or validation. In her mind, even after the distance, you're still emotionally available, still orbiting her world, still someone she can access whenever she feels uncertain or lonely. And for a while, she assumes that nothing has really changed, that you're just going through a phase and you'll come back around like before. But then something unexpected happens. You don't. Instead of collapsing, you stabilize. Instead of spiraling, you focus. Your energy shifts inward. You stop trying to convince, prove, or perform. You start working on your body, your mindset, your career, your purpose. You become quieter, more grounded, more selective with your time and attention. And this is the moment that truly disrupts her emotional narrative, because now she's not the center of your world anymore. She's not the emotional anchor. She's not the reference point for your decisions. You're moving forward without her, and not in a way that looks bitter or desperate, but in a way that looks strong, calm, unbothered. And that's what makes it powerful. There's no drama to feed off, no emotional chaos to feel superior to, just growth. When she sees this version of you, it hits differently. Not because you're trying to impress her, but because you're not. You're no longer seeking her approval, and that changes the entire dynamic. The man she once felt comfortable walking away from is now becoming someone she feels she has to qualify for, and that shift creates a quiet kind of panic, because now the power she thought she had doesn't exist anymore. She starts questioning the story she told herself, the one where she was the prize and you were the one who lost, because the evidence doesn't support it anymore. You look better, you carry yourself differently, you're more focused, more disciplined, more emotionally stable. And instead of falling apart without her, you're actually becoming the strongest version of yourself. This is where regret intensifies, not because she wants to control you, but because she realizes something painful. She didn't leave a weak man. She left a man who was evolving, a man who used the loss as fuel instead of an excuse, a man who turned rejection into self mastery. And the hardest part for her is this: she can't take credit for your growth. She can't insert herself into your transformation. You didn't improve to win her back. You improved because you chose yourself, and that makes you more attractive than ever, but also more distant. So when she looks at you now, she doesn't see the man she outgrew. She sees the man she underestimated, and that's when regret becomes real, because she realizes she didn't lose you to another woman. She lost you to your own evolution. At first, she tries to fill the emptiness with noise. She surrounds herself with people, plans, distractions, and constant activity. She scrolls, talks, laughs, dates, and convinces herself that the space you left behind doesn't matter. But those things are temporary. Distractions never last. They can cover the pain for a moment, but they can't erase what was built between you two. And sooner or later, the quiet comes back, and it's louder than ever. The quiet is where regret begins to take root. In those late nights when the world is asleep, she finds herself thinking about you, not just what you did, but how you made her feel. The warmth of your attention, the calm in your presence, the feeling that she could truly be herself around you. It wasn't grand gestures or drama, it was the consistency, the reliability, the way you held space for her without needing anything in return. And now that space is gone and nothing else quite fits, she starts to notice the emotional void in places she never expected. A song plays, and suddenly she remembers a conversation you had about a dream she shared, a smell, a place, a familiar road. Anything that triggers memories of your connection brings a pang she can't ignore. It's subtle at first, like a shadow at the edge of her mind, but over time it grows heavier. The more she tries to deny it, the stronger it becomes, because the feeling she had with you wasn't superficial. It was embedded in her daily life, in her emotions, and in her sense of stability. And this is where regret starts to become unavoidable. She begins to see that no one else gives her the same sense of balance. Other men may entertain her, chase her attention, or create temporary excitement, but none of them make her feel fully understood or safe. She misses the way you handle conflict, the way you communicated without games, the way you made her feel like she mattered in a way that was real, not performative. It's in this emotional absence that she finally realizes what she truly lost. The emotional void also exposes her own patterns. She begins to understand that her choices, her doubts, and her hesitation created this space between you. And with no one else to fill it authentically, she starts to confront her mistakes. She sees that the comfort she took for granted was a rare thing, something she won't find easily again. The more she feels it, the more the regret compounds because she understands that no matter how much effort she puts elsewhere, she can't replicate what she had with you. And eventually, she can't pretend anymore that you're just a memory. The quiet forces her to face the truth, the connection you shared, the consistency, the emotional depth. All of it was rare and it's gone. That emptiness isn't just absence, it's the reminder of what she walked away from, and that realization is the beginning of her regret. At first, she tests the waters quietly. A glance, a message, a subtle attempt to see if you're still reachable in the same way you once were. She wants reassurance, confirmation that even though she walked away, you're still there. But when she reaches out, she notices something she wasn't expecting. Nothing. You're not immediately available. You don't respond the way you used to. And there's a calm in your absence that she can't control. That's when the dynamic begins to shift because for the first time, she experiences what it's like to lose the easy access she once took for granted. She starts to feel the weight of distance. It's not just physical or logistical, it's emotional. She realizes that the energy she once had over you, the ability to demand attention or provoke reactions, is gone. You've established boundaries, not out of anger or resentment, but out of self respect. You've made it clear that your time, your emotions, and your presence are not guaranteed to anyone. And that lack of availability is more powerful than anything she could say or do. The realization hits her quietly but profoundly. She can't just text and get immediate responses. She can't manipulate the conversation or the situation to feel secure. She can't insert herself into your life as if nothing changed. That control she once assumed she had because she knew it would always be there is gone. And when she recognizes that, regret starts to take shape because she sees that her choices now have consequences she can't undo. She begins to replay moments in her mind, noticing the times she could have been present, the times she could have appreciated what she had instead of testing it. Every memory that once seemed trivial now carries weight because she understands that access to someone who truly mattered isn't unlimited. It's not a resource you can rely on indefinitely. And once she feels that absence, once she experiences the boundary you've set, it creates a sense of urgency she can't ignore. But the truth is, her regret isn't about missing you as a person alone. It's about missing the version of life she had when you were there. The emotional safety, the trust, the connection she felt, it's something she can't recreate with anyone else. And the harder she tries to grasp it, the more she realizes she can't force it. Your absence is not emptiness, it's a boundary. It's a reflection of your growth and your value. And boundaries are magnetic, they draw attention, respect, and yes, sometimes regret. This is when the shift becomes undeniable. She can't access you the same way she used to. And that's when regret transforms into reflection. She doesn't just remember what she lost, she begins to feel it viscerally. She understands for the first time that your presence was not a given, that your time and energy were rare, and that her actions created this distance. That realization is powerful. And it's the moment she truly begins to understand the cost of underestimating what she had. By the time she finally decides to come back, everything has changed. She expects the same person she once knew, the same man who waited, forgave, and been around her insecurities. But she doesn't realize that time, distance, and your focus on yourself have transformed you. You're no longer defined by her presence or absence. You've grown stronger, more centered, more disciplined, and more aware of your own value. You don't just exist in her world anymore, you exist in your own. And that's something she can't control or replicate. When she sees you now, the power dynamic has shifted. The man she once walked away from is no longer available at her convenience. Your attention is no longer easily won. Your approval is no longer given freely. And she immediately feels the difference because she finally understands that what she thought she had in the past wasn't unlimited, it was earned. And you have spent your absence becoming someone even more unshakable. She may try to reconnect, to test, to see if she still fits into your life the way she once did. But the truth is, you've evolved, you've raised your standards. You're no longer seeking validation from her or anyone else. You're selective with your time, your energy, and your heart. That growth, that inner stability is magnetic, but it also comes with boundaries she cannot bypass. She begins to feel the weight of her previous decisions, realizing that she walked away from someone who was not just a partner, but a force of stability and value in her life. This is the moment when regret hits the hardest. She sees what she lost, but more importantly, she sees the difference between the man she left and the man you have become. The version of you that exists now as someone she cannot manipulate, cannot take for granted, cannot access casually. She faces the stark truth that losing you wasn't just a temporary lapse in judgment, it was a permanent turning point, and the consequences of her choices are fully visible now. And while she may feel a pull to come back, she also senses the challenge. You've grown beyond her influence. You are no longer waiting or chasing. You have created a life that is independent, confident, and emotionally stable. That growth doesn't just make her regretful, it forces her to reevaluate herself, her decisions, and what she truly deserves. She realizes that coming back doesn't automatically reset the past. It requires proof that she can match the man you've become, not just the man she once knew. Ultimately, when regret drags her back, it's not about her desire alone. It's about the timing, the growth, and the transformation that has occurred in your absence. You have evolved, and that evolution sets the standard. She cannot simply step back into your life without acknowledging it. That's when she finally understands the depth of what she lost and why it isn't easy to reclaim. And in that moment, it becomes clear sometimes regret is not enough to rewrite the past. It's a wake up call to face the reality that the man she left has become someone she can no longer take for granted.